Gather around, children, for story time. I'm going to tell you 4 stories about 4 different guys who came to one of my pelvic floor healing retreats and had a really, really big shift. And I'm hosting a retreat in February in Sedona, a 3-day retreat. So yeah, I thought it'd be cool to talk about some of the things that actually take place at these events. By the way, I'm changing the names of these guys for anonymity. And let me get into the first one. Ethan came to a retreat in Sedona, and when he first got here was just so wired and so anxious and so wanting to make sure everything goes well at this retreat, like spilling it all out on me, right? Like how hard it's been, and very much like thinking like, what are we gonna do next? And why are we gonna do that? What about that? What are we gonna do after that? And just go, 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 go. The mind was going so fast. I was like, okay, it's time to slow down, calm down. You don't need your phone. You don't need to talk to anyone. You don't need to work. Just be here. And not too long after, it was the second day, if I recall, we were doing a thing where we were just sitting in the living room. And I could tell that because he did the online program, but he had trouble doing the meditations and would give up and like just get back to work. We wanted to go further than where he had gone before. So this time, he was sitting on the couch. I was sitting in a chair across from him. And I was guiding him to stay with the sensations, even though they were really, really uncomfortable in the body. And so he stayed with it, and he stayed with it without doing anything about it. It was only 10 minutes, 15 minutes in maybe. It wasn't even that long, but there was a breaking point. And like I'm getting chills as I say it because I remember he started laughing. The laughter came through. He couldn't even stop it. The laughter kept coming. It kept coming. And he laughed, I kid you not, for an hour straight. It was so awesome. I was just sitting there in silence, small encouragement here and there. Such a release, so much stored emotions and blockages and driving and the mind trying to override what the body and the emotions and the heart really needed and a lot of things. And he was so energized. He was so alive. He had been missing running. He loves running. He had a hip impingement as well, the pelvic floor issues, and he felt so good. He was jumping up and down and he wanted to run. I was like, let's run. We just ran down the street. We were just running down the street at full speed. It was so awesome. And yeah, the rest of the retreat was way different after that moment. His body had so much more free flowing energy. His pelvis wasn't so locked up. There was a lot more ability to reflect on patterns of self-consciousness, fearing judgment, fearing being who he really is, a lot of things like that. And yeah, later on, he had some fears around, approaching women. And for example, he did some cold approaching at a restaurant we went to, and he got us to sit at a table with another group, a couple of people. The day after he left as well, he cold approached 3 people at the airport, and he said it went really well. So yeah, that was a huge shift that Ethan was able to sit with his sensations in a loving space where there is nowhere to go. There's no phone to pick up. There was no other option, which sounds really scary, but it's very loving, very supportive. And yeah, that's story number 1. So story number 2 is Daniel. Again, I'm changing the names here. And so Daniel came to a retreat with me in Texas, and he had a lot of trauma from growing up in a religious cult. A lot of trauma, a lot of belief systems about how life should be, about how he should be, how he should act, doing things in a very specific way, following and a very strict way of being and living. And there wasn't a lot of safety and love that was presented much to that point. Yeah, symptoms were really bad. He was working so much, so many hours, difficult, physical, blue collar, hands-on work. And yeah, the first day was just settling in, honestly, just trying to feel safe with me, that I'm not going to be some other religious cult leader or take advantage of him or anything like that. But by day 2, I mean, he was doing it though. He was doing the meditations, he was doing the breath work, he was doing all the things, he was doing it all the way through. And later in day 2, I was like, yeah, he's crossed over. There's energy coming back, liveliness, playfulness, happiness. And I was like, yeah, we're good. because it's often my goal is to get people in like day 1 to day 2, like really far in. The last couple of days are just kind of integration and having some fun and things like that. And that's what happened in this case. I remember I was cooking. I often cook meals whenever we're at retreats. Sometimes someone else helps, or I often cook them though, or we'll go to restaurants for special meals. But I was cooking and he was just telling me all these stories about his life, and I could tell that he felt very safe, very seen, like that I cared about him, that I loved him for who he was, and that it was okay to just talk and cut up and play, and that was awesome. Yeah, so that was story number 2. Story number 3, Daron. Daron came to a retreat in Sedona and really, really bad physical body symptoms for sure. Urinary stuff, pelvic floor stuff, a lot of things. He had lost a lot of weight, didn't have a lot of energy, a depression going on, and very analytical, asking question after question after question after question, the mind wanting to understand every single angle of something versus just letting it be what it is. And again, I mean, I've experienced that, a lot of people do, but he was dealing with that a lot. And yeah, he was willing though. He was doing things. And then I introduced Hape, which is a ceremonial plant medicine. It's legal. It's not a psychedelic. It's made from Amazonian tobacco and other plants that are mixed in. It's really a nice plant medicine that just helps you ground and enter the present moment, and can help suppress the analytical mind some though. It's not some crazy like visual psychedelic, and it only lasts like 5 to 10 minutes for most people, so it's not like a crazy thing. But he did it. The first day, gave him a very small amount. He was like, I don't know, not a whole lot. I was like, okay, we'll do it again the next day. So I gave him a little bit more, and he was sitting with it, and after a little while, breaking down like big cries, welling, like movement. It was so awesome. It was so awesome. I could sense he hadn't cried in a long time like that. Dropping all the heavy burdens, letting himself actually feel and not just think. There was an opening. There was an opening, for lack of better words. And that was a shift point for Daron. That was really, really special. First of all, because he had a lot of fears. He was afraid to even come here. He came all the way across the ocean. It was a long trip to get here. Traveling alone, a lot of anxieties, and he tried something new, going into the unknown because he felt safe to do that. And that was huge. All right, so the last story I'll tell today. Oh yeah, actually also after he finished, because he also was working on dating and cold approaching, and he cold approached someone the next day after the retreat successfully and had a great interaction. So yeah, I almost forgot about that. So Sanjay is the healing story number 4. Sanjay had really bad ADHD. His whole body was just like locked up, tension, pain symptoms, and he didn't really know what it was like to have a clear mind, to have quiet. It was just constant, like a whirlwind. And so this one retreat, I had everyone wake up at 4 a.m. They're like, what the hell are we doing? 3-hour meditation experience, a pineal gland meditation. So this was inspired by when I went to a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. Well, I've been to 4 of his retreats. And he does this 4 a.m., 4-hour long pineal gland meditation. So I did my own version of it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You do a breath work that helps bring the cerebral spinal fluid up, that helps activate the pineal gland by pushing the fluid with internal pressure, creating the piezoelectric effect on the crystal so it can secrete new hormones. A lot of almost psychedelic or consciousness altering kinds of things, DMT, etc., of course, your body produces. So the pineal gland is a very special piece of technology that we have. And so we were doing things like that, lying in meditation. It's a whole 3-hour experience. You're kind of lucid, you're kind of sleepy. It's a really good zone to be, typically in theta brainwaves. I want people to be in theta brainwaves if possible. Not that I'm not monitoring everyone. That'd be cool. At some point, I'd love to have everyone wear an EEG or something and an EKG to see the brain and heart coherence. That's something I want to do in future retreats, by the way, is start monitoring what's taking place. But it was later on, I think towards the end of the 3rd hour, and I could just sense something was happening with him over there. He was like, spine was straight and moving, and there was something going on. It wasn't until after it was over, though, that I talked to him about it. He was like, for the first time, there's just, it's almost like there's this cloud always in the mind, this sandstorm. The first time ever, it all just parted, it all went away. It was just a clear sky of stillness and nothingness. But there was an electricity in it, this like powerful electrical energy moving through his body and his brain. It was so relaxing and so energizing. And yeah, he was just in awe. I had gratitude that it happened for him. He was so much more grounded the rest of the retreat. He was more in his heart. He was going slower. There was more clarity. A shift happened. So those are 4 stories. I have a lot more, lots of things, big or large, that take place at these events. This is why I love in-person events, though, because we're able to be together for multiple days in a row, create a very sacred space for going beneath the analytical mind, dropping into the somatic field, the heart, doing things very differently, being seen by others in a vulnerable and loving way. You have the safety to go deeper than when you're on your own. Often it's scary to like really dive in and go further than what you've done before. I've been to a lot of retreats. I personally love going to them. I host them for this reason. If you want to come to my next one in February, I'm doing a small group retreat, and it's in Sedona, beautifully healing place. We do a lot of the things I talked about, along with going on hikes and other special experiences and bonding and just having fun together as a group. Love to see you at a retreat. I'd love to hear your stories. If you have stories from your own retreats, post them in the comments below. Talk to you later.